KOIN, VHP, you've got KOIN, want to generate yield, how's it work? I made some videos on this before, but today I'm going to go to it with a little chalkboard over here. So let's go to our good old Excalibur drawer. So let's just say that you have some KOIN in your wallet. You bought KOIN from MEXC and all these other places, and it's burning a hole in your wallet, wondering if you can get some yield. The answer is yes, you can. You can generate yield natively by producing blocks and becoming a node and becoming a block producer or a mining node. But how do you do that and how does it work? All right, so you've got KOIN in your wallet and you want to begin mining. Great. So the first thing you have to do here is you want to burn your KOIN and get this token called VHP. Now, KOIN and VHP are two totally different tokens. When you burn KOIN, you're not sending it off to some burn address where people can see it, but they can't access it. When you burn KOIN, it's removed from the entire token supply. It's actually not counted. It's not there anymore. It doesn't exist. And you get this new token back called VHP. Now, what's important here is that when you burn one KOIN, you get one VHP. There's no requirement for you to burn a minimum or maximum amount. You can burn your entire wallet if you wanted to, but you get exactly 1-to-1 ratio. Burn 10,000 KOIN, you get 10,000 VHP. So what that means is that globally, if you look at the total amount of KOIN plus VHP, it never actually changes if no blocks are produced. In some static space where no blocks are being produced, all the KOIN out there being burned results in all the VHP out there, and you get a strict no change in the global supply at any given instance. The second blocks are produced though, VHP is burned, you get KOIN back, and you get a little bit extra in inflation. That's your KOIN reward for producing blocks. All right, so how does that look like graphically here? So if you burn KOIN, you get VHP, you burn 10,000 KOIN, you burn 10, and then you get 10,000 VHP. Great. Now you've set up your mining node. You've gone through learnkoinos.xyz and you set up your mining node. Now your mining node is going to be a simple computer, something like 4-core CPU, 16 gigabytes of RAM, something like 5 to 1 terabytes of hard drive space. And what you need to do is you need to hook up your wallet with your VHP to the mining node. And the reason for that is that the mining node is consuming your VHP, so your VHP is going down, and then when you produce a block, right, the network gives you KOIN. You always get, and over the entire life cycle, you get more KOIN than you have in VHP. So that means that you're earning a yield. Now, what's important to note here is that you're not the only person mining. There are other miners out there. Here's a miner, and they're all connected together, and they're trying to produce a blockchain, right? This is a really, really messed up blockchain, but it's producing blocks. And each time a mining node is attempting to produce a block, if it produces a valid block, it gets attached there, and then you earn a block reward. Now, all of these mining nodes, they're all running some amount of VHP to fuel their miner, and they're losing that VHP and they're gaining KOIN at the same time. And so there's a global amount of VHP that's being produced. So let's say that we have 100 nodes out there, and all 100 nodes together, some have less, some have more, but they all together have 1 million VHP producing. That's a total amount of VHP in the entire system, and it's all being used to produce blocks, right? Now, let's just say that you own 10,000 of that VHP, which means you own 10%. If you own 10% of all the VHP out there, then at that instance, remember instant because at each time a block is produced, VHP decreases and KOIN increases. So at that instance, you have 10%. And so at that instance, you would also produce 10% of blocks globally, okay? And the question is, how many blocks do you produce? All right, so very easy to do that. How many blocks we produce really just means how many blocks your node or how many blocks are out there to be produced. And so the way we calculate that is first we have to understand what the average block time is. So if you look at Bitcoin, it's like 10 minutes average. If you look at Ethereum, it's about, I think, like 5, 10, 15 seconds. I forgot what it is. But on KOINOS, it's 3 seconds. So you have a 3-second block time. And so how many blocks are there in a year? Well, how many seconds are there in a year? You just take 365 days a year, right? And you multiply that by 24 hours per day, and then you multiply that by 60 minutes per an hour, and you multiply that by 60 seconds per minute. and then boom, boom, cancels out, cancels out, cancels out, and you get how many seconds per year, and that's some really, really big number, and you divide that by 3 seconds. That will give you how many blocks there are in a year, and that number happens to be, I believe, if my memory serves me right, 10,512,000 blocks in a year. If you do 10% of that, right, 1/10 of that, you make 1,512,000 blocks. That's how many blocks you're responsible for. But it is important to know that when you burn your tokens, right, you get that initial supply of VHP, but your VHP dwindles, which means that the blocks that you produce begin to spread out further and further and further and further. It takes more time for you to produce some blocks because you have less virtual hash power. Did I say that VHP stands for virtual hash power? So let's just take a look at this chart here. If you have some VHP and you want to know how much coin you have, you'll get, it starts looking like this. Right? VHP is going down, coin is increasing, but it's not linear because most of your blocks you're going to produce probably going to be in the front because you've got way, way more VHP. And it's likely that other people are reburning. Maybe you don't want to reburn. So the question is, what is reburn? Reburn means that you keep your VHP levels consistent. So if you have 10,000 coin and at the end of the day, you're producing X amount of blocks, you're going to have less than 10,000 coin because you've consumed some of that coin to produce blocks, and you've been rewarded some coin with extra. And so you can choose to burn your coin again, and so you're going to end up with more than 10,000 coin. So it's very plausible that after 1 day of block production in this scenario, your 10,000 VHP has gone down to something like 9,800 VHP, and if you've gained about like 220 coin. These are just fictitious numbers, don't hold me on it. And so if you add these things together, you realize that you've got actually plus 20 coin. That's your reward. So what do you do? Well, you can take your 220 coin and you can reburn it, and then you get 10,020 VHP, which means that you are now producing more blocks than before because you have more than 10%. But don't forget, other people may be doing this. Other people may be maintaining their VHP levels. Other people may be burning all of their rewards to get more VHP so they can produce more blocks because they're really in this mining game for a long term. Or you can, just burn 200 of it and you keep your levels at 10,000. And so you're always going to have 10,000 VHP. And so when the global VHP supply goes up, you have a smaller slice and you produce a little bit less blocks. And that's how you maintain your career as a miner on Coinos. So that's really it. Nothing really hard to say here. Very simple. So if we go back and recap here, yields, you can generate yields on coin. All you do is buy some coin, burn it, get VHP. It's 1-to-1. Burn 10,000 coin, get 10,000 VHP. You take your VHP, connect it to your mining node, and each time you produce a block, you get some coin. You get more coin than you put in, thus your reward. So each time you produce a valid block, it gets added to the blockchain. And then how many blocks you're going to produce? Well, it depends on how many blocks there are to be produced in a year. If you look at this calculation over here, you realize that with 3-second block times, you're producing about 10,512,000 blocks. If you own 10% of the VHP out there, then you're going to produce 10% of the blocks out there, or in this case, 1.5 million. Over time, your VHP dwindles, which means you produce less blocks, but you have the option to reburn and continue producing blocks. And so what's the numbers here? Well, inflation's 2%. If you are okay with 2% yield, don't ever reburn. That means at the end of the year, if you had 100 coin, you would end up with 102 coin at the end of the year. That's your 2%. If you do participate in reburning, or if the mining nodes are not collectively burning enough coin, this number can go up. And I will talk about that in another video. Hopefully you guys understood this. It makes a lot of sense. Any questions, feel free to hit me up on Telegram or whatever. There's a lot of resources out there. Go into the Telegram, go to Twitter, call people out, ask them, hey, I'm confused about this, and we'll make sure to help you out. And of course, if you don't want to run a mining node, you can always join a mining pool. There are several out there. Check them out. It's an easy way to get involved in the ecosystem. Yeah, peace out. End.